Welcome aboard the Finding Joy at Sea podcast. This podcast is for anyone who loves to hear the stories behind the stories of life at sea. Whether you work in the industry, love cruising, or are thinking about a new career, you're in the right place. I am your host, Laura Fraser, a 20-plus year cruise industry veteran and the author of the Joy at Sea series of children's books. I love sharing the joy of the journey. So, anchors away. It's time to set sail. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Finding Joy at Sea podcast. I am your host, Laura Fraser, and I am so excited to be back with you today. And I am so excited to introduce you to the brilliant, the incredible, the kind friend of mine, Sunel Weyer. And I am just so thankful for you to come in today, Sunel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you for having me. This is very exciting.
I'm so glad to have you. I mean, we have known each other for many, many years, and I won't go too far into it because I'm going to let you share your own story. But I think that that's one of the main themes that I see so often in this incredible industry is your story keeps getting woven in and out of each other's lives. And like anything, you never know when you're going to run into somebody again, either in a personal setting or a professional setting. And I have been very lucky to run into you in both of those types of settings. So it's just been a fun journey together.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I think you have that spot on. Like, I think, our lives always intertwine, and to know that we've seen each other and worked with each other in many different parts of our lives and our careers, and to also now have this amazing conversation is pretty spectacular.
Yes. Well, thank you again for coming on the podcast today. And, like I like to do with each of my guests, I like to ask some questions right off the bat and some right at the end too, so we can, really see how this conversation takes us. But I think for all of us, it's finding out, right, how is this opportunity even available? Where did we hear about working on ships? And I know you've been in the industry a long time, just like I have. And so the way kids hear about it today is not the same way we heard about it when we were kids. So why don't you tell your story? Like, how did you hear about the opportunity to work on board a cruise ship?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have definitely been at sea for many, many years. I'm not at sea anymore, but my journey started actually in 2004 when I joined my first ship. But I studied somatology in South Africa at Tina School's Academy. It's now called Potchefstroom Academy. And they actually have recruiters for the spa that comes to your college. So then they actually recruit you while you are studying. So in my last year in 2003, I was actually debating whether I'm going to specialize in reflexology and aromatherapy and do another year, or, what is my next step? And we actually had a recruiter from Steiner at that stage. They are now called One Spa World. They came to the college and just shared with us the amazing life of sea. We saw a lot of pictures. We heard a lot of people's stories. And then it really just came to that point where I was like, I need to apply for this. This is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So in 2004, I joined my first ship just straight after college. And that's where the journey started.
That's amazing. Yes. And it's actually because of Steiner that I worked on ships, even though I never worked for Steiner. But my cousin worked for Steiner. And so she'd send these amazing emails home about all the places that she went. And I was like, I don't know how to work in a spa, but I bet I could figure out something I knew how to do on board. So yeah, it's very cool. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And what was your first ship? Do you remember?
Yes, I actually, my first contract was like a whirlwind. Like it was pretty insane. I actually joined the Holland America Volendam. That was my first ship, but I was only on that ship for a few weeks when, I was in the Eine Thermos column. So that's like the slimming program. And I managed that program, but the Eine Thermos that was on vacation, she came back, she requested the same vessel. And then I was sent over to Carnival. And so I did Carnival Destiny. And shortly after that, I moved to Carnival Jubilee. And from Carnival Jubilee, I was promoted within my first year with Steiner from being a therapist into the assistant management role. When I then went on to a celebrity ship That was the Celebrity Infinity, and that was all in 1 year.
Wow.
It was very eventful. I did a very long contract. I did my 9 months at sea. But yeah, I ended that first year in an assistant manager role. And when I came back the year after that, I went for the management training and went back into a management role.
That's incredible. Well, and I think that's so important to point out, right? Like whatever position you start in, it's like getting your foot in the door and then proving yourself. And sky really is the limit as to,
100%.
where you can be working and what you can be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's definitely one thing that at sea has shown us, that I would have never thought that I had a niche for management. I just absolutely loved it, excelled in it, really enjoyed it. And it just came so naturally. So yeah, from going from a therapist, actively like working into managing, and then working with the team of like 32 team members. Yeah, it was amazing, but it was fast.
It's a lot of ships when you're new to ships as well. I bet you were lost for the first couple weeks, like trying
Oh,
to find your way
100%.
around. You wake
Yeah.
up on a new ship and like, where am I? What am I doing?
I agree. Every ship's in a different location. It's on a different itinerary. The layout is completely different. Jubilee was a much smaller ship than Destiny, which was a much bigger ship. I think the one on Jubilee, we were like 8 girls in the spa. And then when I got to Destiny, we were 32 in the spa, So yeah, it's pretty amazing though. But that's one of the things about ships that I feel like you just get into it, and once you're in it, you just so quickly evolve, and you just like move with the motions, and you grow up very fast.
Very fast. That's true. You do grow up very fast. And I think what I liked about it too was that you could have an off. That first week could be off, you finding your feet and finding your place and finding your bearing, but by like the second cruise or the second week, like you've got this. Like it's
Yep,
totally you've made your friends so quickly and your
I agree.
relationships, and you know where things are and you know who to ask incredibly fast. And I think it does serve you then after ships in how you make those transitions in new roles. So yeah, you can't really describe it to somebody who hasn't worked on board, but it is baptism by fire, oftentimes.
100%. And it's not even just that. The fact that you open up so quickly, you tend to, you're like, we're all in this. Every single person on that ship is in with you in the same situation, so everybody is there to help. Everybody is there to support. Your support structure is so fast. It's so quick. Everybody wants to help you, so I feel like I've never felt like out of sorts or anything. Like you say, the first day you don't know which way is forward and which way is out. But by the second day, there's always somebody that just puts a wing over you and say, hey, let me help you, let me guide you, let me support you. And you have a lifelong friend.
100%. And I think maybe now thinking back, the fact that crew members are always coming and going and signing off and signing on, and like people are going on vacation at all different times, there's always somebody new. And so, there's always somebody to help. And you also aren't so far removed from when you needed help either. So that, yeah, it's this constant flow of new people and experienced people. And it really does create that kind of environment. It's
That's
true.
true.
I love that about the industry. Very, very neat. Well, now you worked on a lot of ships and you did a lot of things, but so now we know what you first did. You first started with Steiner in the spa, One Spa World, and you worked your way up to management with spa. And is that where your story ended?
It did not. It did not actually. So worked for Steiner for 5 years. I got to that point where I'm like, maybe this is it for me. Like I felt like at that stage, I maybe, reached my ceiling. And I did leave ships for 2 years where I was back in South Africa. I started my own consultancy business. At that time, I helped, somebody in Pretoria opening up a day spa. So I did the full consultation on them, from design to layout to actually helping her to write the standard operational procedures and everything. I did 3 other projects where I did smaller, like more of like day salons. So salon, 2 salons, a hair salon. And that was about 2 years into that. And then the sea called me back. Yes, it's crazy. Like, even though I really enjoyed being back on land, just the part about being in ships, the travel, the people, the constant change, even, it really has a big impact. And being 2 years in South Africa, I really, really enjoyed it. But I was definitely like just really pulled towards going back. And I actually had a phone call from somebody who worked for Celebrity Cruises, and they had a new position that they started, which is called the onboard marketing manager. And they wanted to find out if I would be interested in something like that to go back. So I did accept that offer. I went back at sea and I did that for, I think almost like 6 years before I transitioned into something else again. But yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
That's such a unique position on board. I think almost every cruise line has that type of position now, and that is such an incredible position for somebody that really wants to understand revenue from a holistic standpoint, right? What each department is doing, what they're responsible for, ways that you can support revenue growth. Again, that's a type of job at sea that's going to serve you in so many positions, on land, whether that's still in the cruise industry or in another industry or in your own business, how you look at revenue, how you can increase revenue, how you can support teams on board. It really, I mean, looking at market specific pieces of marketing, even having an eagle eye for typos and things like that. It's one of those positions that, yes, it serves you so, so well,
100%.
post ship life.
Even if I look at where I am today, and then I think we'll get to that, but I still use things that I've learned from when I was in the spa and from when I was in marketing as onboard marketing manager. When, you have all the departments from shore excursions to spa to photo to casino to the retail outlets, like the art on board, all of those departments report into you. And your main focus is to, like you said, increase revenue for on board. And, you manage the daily programs, so you have a lot of focus in those areas, and just understanding like movements and guest flow and, when they come back and how they get off the ship. Like, it's all so interesting. It's extremely interesting. It's very, very vast. And yes, your learning curve is amazing. And we will definitely use the skill set that you've developed there again. Yeah.
And in true ship fashion too, like just when you kind of cracked the code with a certain itinerary and certain guest flow and certain, programming for the day as to, how you can keep guests engaged and entertained, you're in a new location, you have new hours and new ports. And so you really are always tweaking and learning and making things better. I mean, I would say overall ships are not a place for somebody who's very complacent and wants things to stay the same.
No, 100%. Like even in a regular itinerary, I can imagine, like, tell of so many stories when you went to bed at night and the next day is supposed to be a Port St. Thomas, but now suddenly there's a hurricane on the way and the ship has to change its itinerary. And now we're sailing in a complete different direction. 3 o'clock in the morning, the hotel director gives you a call and say, "Hey, we're changing itinerary. 7 o'clock when the guest wakes up, we need to have a new daily program. So we need to get everybody together because we need to discuss. It's now going to be a sea day." So it's all hands on deck at 3 in the morning. Everybody is up. Everybody's sitting in the same office. We're quickly talking about what's next, where everybody thought, hey, we're going to have a slow pour day. We're all going to get off and, go to the beach and eat ice cream and drink, pina coladas. That all very changed very quickly. And we now have a full day at sea and we need to keep our guests happy. So things can change like this. And yeah, if you have to be open to that and you have to know that these kind of things happen because they happen often.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. And that collaborative environment, it really is. You have to collaborate or it's not going to work out for you. So that's something I think that a lot of us, when we started and we were very young, if that wasn't a natural skill set that you had or talent, it quickly becomes one. So again, it's just something else that can really serve you in future parts of your career. Okay, so you did Spa Steiner and then you were a revenue manager and then
Yes.
what?
And then I met my husband. And so my husband was in South Africa. I was on ships. And we had to get to that point where we weren't obviously married yet. We were just dating at that stage. But we sort of like had the conversation. We were like, we would love to see each other more. I was not ready to get off ships. He was heading Buffalo. We're in the middle of nowhere in South Africa. So not really somewhere where I see myself, go live out my dreams. So we had a little, talk and to see what is opportunities for us. And there's actually two positions on board the ship that allows for couples. And one of that is port shopping. And the other one is with Park West in the art gallery. So we actually had conversations and we looked at both of these positions and we decided that we think we wanted to go into the art world. And that is obviously where we met. We interviewed for Park West and then we started our art career with Park West, which was also absolutely amazing. I don't think I would have ever thought in my life that I would learn about Picassos and Rembrandts and, up and coming evolving artists, Simon Bull and Vova and oh my word, it's just amazing. The knowledge and the skill set, again, we had zero art knowledge, zero. So it was quite the learning curve for us. I remember making flashcards with artist history and stories and everything on and just learning about all these things. And we spent about 2 years together at sea. And we enjoyed it very much. But obviously, when you bring a guy from the bushveld onto a ship, it's not for everybody. And I think that's also something that people should know. You think that it might be something for you and you might absolutely love it. And as much as I still loved it, my husband was not very happy. So he decided to go back to South Africa. And then after my 2 years with Park West, I actually went back into my old position with revenue marketing. At that stage, the position has evolved and it actually changed a bit. It was now called the revenue and marketing director. So I went back into the same position, just a different title.
Wow, wonderful. Well, and that is so true, right? It isn't for everyone. And sometimes it's just for a season, right? Something you guys did together, memories you made, and it was for a season, but ultimately, kind of continuing to be together, but in different career capacities worked out really well for you guys too. And yes, 100%. That's where we met through Park West. And it's so true. I mean, you learn all of these artists, you learn all of these movements, you learn different ways to, communicate what the artist had in mind with their pieces. But I think the part that I enjoyed the most about my years with Park West was seeing people respond to art that never had responded to art in any particular way before. And kind of walking guests through what that emotion is, what is it bringing up in them, and then ultimately getting to sell them something that they were going to hang in their home. That was something I loved to do because I knew every time that they would see that in their home too, they'd remember their cruise, they'd remember me, they'd remember the time they had. And it just felt like such a privilege to be able to, bring that back for them. So, yeah.
100%. I still have guests who reach out to me and they're like, do you remember that piece that you recommended or you sold us? And they'll tell us a story. And I remember my first piece was a Peter Max Angel with Heart. And that was literally the first work of art that I ever sold. And I just remember I had this wonderful lady that I was talking to, and we were just having a great conversation. And we sort of walked through the whole area until we got to that piece. And she just stopped and she looked at it and she just started crying. She was just so into that piece. And we started talking a little bit more, and there was so much deeper meaning to her, with an angel and everything like that. And that was the piece that she ended up buying. And to this day, I remember that expression on her face, that feeling and that connection that she made. And that's what that world of art opens up to you, a world that you never thought, the emotions that, it brings out. Art is beautiful. And we absolutely fell in love with it. And we're still in love with art.
Yeah. That's so great. So, okay, so you went back to be a marketing director, yes. And then that's the end? I don't think so.
Well, still not the end. Yes, I did that for, I think it was another 2 years or so, and then I opened up the Celebrity Edge, which was first of the Edge class vessels that we had, which was very exciting. And during Celebrity Edge, I actually had Michael McCarthy from Celebrity. At that stage, he was vice president of onboard revenue. Michael reached out to me and asked if I am interested in coming to the United States and work for our shoreside office in a revenue management capacity. So that meant leaving South Africa, but also meant leaving ships. And so I had to get my husband. That time we were married. So I had to get him on board and see if he was open to move to the United States. And for us, it was a new and exciting journey. So in 2019, I packed my last suitcase for sea. I went home, packed a lot of stuff for United States, and we immigrated over. We came over to United States, sort of, I think it was like in mid 2019. And I started working for Celebrity in a revenue capacity as manager onboard revenue.
Amazing, amazing. And I have a funny backstory. I don't know if we've ever talked about this actually, but so you worked for Park West, that's where we knew each other. Then you got this shoreside job for Celebrity, and I'll never forget we had a Park West new hire and advanced training going on. And it was like anytime cruise line executives came to the office, everyone was like excited, but nervous, but excited, all of those feelings. And it was like, oh, Sunel's coming. Oh, Sunel from Celebrity. Oh, Sunel. Oh, Sunel. And it's just funny how, like you started as an art associate with Park West. And then next thing you know, a few years later, you're making everyone, excited and nervous and prepared for your visit. So it's funny how, like in this industry, there's so much of that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
oh no,
remember that.
absolutely. And I even like, things that I've experienced, from ships, like even people that like Michael McCarthy, who was like vice president of onboard revenue. I knew Michael when we both were on ships as revenue and marketing managers, and we worked together. And I actually think I trained him, which is like crazy, and exactly, so that's the beauty about this industry. Like and I think you said it right in the beginning, you never know how you're going to meet people again, whether it's professionally, when it's, in person, how your paths will just contradict cross. Sometimes it's with a complete different cruise line. Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. So it's fun and exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2019. So that's,
That's
just before the world
2019.
really shifted and changed. So
Yes.
what happened there?
Well, COVID happened. We all knew about COVID. COVID happened. We were very fortunate working for Celebrity. Nobody, lost their jobs. We actually just worked from home. So very blessed in that instance. So we were working from home, continue on doing our job. Like I think it was pretty crazy. We all had to do a lot more than what we initially did. I think there was times we were all like 2, 3 in the mornings getting planes for crew members that had to get off shift, that had to get home. There was just no limit. Everybody was just pulling together, making sure that our crew members was fine and safe, and they got home and they got to their families, and we could get the ships, in safe ports and safe areas. A lot of the ships had to stay outside of, or in international waters, not in port, but nobody on them. So yeah, there was a lot of movement there. But we had the opportunity to work from home. And so Chad and I actually decided to buy a property in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved to Ohio only shortly after that, where Celebrity asked us all to actually come back to the office. But then we've already bought this property. So that was a little bit difficult for us. So I actually decided not to go back to Celebrity, and I pivoted to something completely different, to a company called SEG, which is just the most amazing family-owned run business, that was just very brave to take a chance on me, somebody with no branding experience whatsoever. Josh and Justin gave me the opportunity to work for them. And I went into branding for 2 years, learned a lot about logos and hot press and silk screening and shared applications and Tumblr applications and shipping from China. And like, yeah, it was a total different new world. But it was also very exciting, a massive learning curve for me. But I did that for 2 years and really, really enjoyed it. I had the opportunity to work from home. That's like sort of like, post COVID, we were all at home. I really enjoyed the fact that I could work from home and I didn't have to go into the office. And, working for SEG, we could do that. But in 2023, yes, I got a phone call from Jennifer Patience from Effie Fine Jewelry. And Jennifer and Bobby and team, I met them while I was still working for Celebrity when we were bringing Effie on board the cruise ships. And Jennifer actually offered me a position to work for them. And it was just like, I always said my blood is teal. For the longest time, I absolutely love Effie. I love the culture of the company. I love the owners. Like, they're just absolute amazing people. So in 2003, I left SEG and I came over to Effie, to work for Jennifer Patience in a cruise line relations role. where we mainly focus on contracts, our future contracts with cruise lines, all our cruise line relations. And yeah, just like, working with pretty much all the departments underneath us that has to communicate through to a cruise line. That's pretty much what we did.
Amazing. So, I mean, such a journey. And there's a couple points that I want to just like touch on again. And one is the COVID piece and how, everyone really took on all different kinds of roles and became incredible problem solvers. And while I wouldn't wish that on any industry or any group of people ever again, maybe one of the best industries to handle such a thing is the cruise industry. I mean, constantly having to deal with port interruptions, like you said, weather interruptions, different regions of the world maybe not needing ships to come at that time. Like this is something that the industry was ready for since day one, and COVID for sure tested everyone's ability to handle it on such a huge global scale. But that's why it was so important for me that with the first book, Joy at Sea, we really told that story of the industry because not only did they have to figure it out, but they really had to figure out how to get their people home, and what an ingenious way that they did by swapping crew and using the ships to get those crew members home.
Yeah.
And really a mission that they all came together. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that really is the story of Joy and how she got her family back home and how she ultimately got her purpose back, and the comeback of this incredible industry. I remember in those days where the ships were shut down, like wondering, will the industry recover? Will we have jobs to get in this industry? Like, what will it even look like? And to see the ships so full, to see cruising so much bigger than ever, it's just been such a gift. And it's always such a lesson that when we go through those kinds of those hard times where we're just not sure what the future holds from us, once you get through it and you get on the other side of it, you learn like, wow, this, everything is possible. It just sometimes takes a pause and a breath and really trying to figure it out. But ultimately everything, does come right in the end. And that, it's something all of us really learned during that time from the industry. The other piece I want to touch on too is your time at SCG. What a fun project we got to work on, which was the Royal Bling for Effie and Royal Caribbean, and this brand new concept logo fine jewelry store, and the chalice that we worked on at Effie, and the chalice box that your team designed at SCG. Again, like starting in spa and working your way through the industry, and me starting in retail and being an art auctioneer and then working for Effie. I never thought I'd be designing with another company a cup for a solid gold and diamond encrusted chalice, but here we were. And that's what makes the industry so fun and unique. And you just really don't know what project you're going to be working on next.
100%.
So that was so fun. And then having you come over to Effie was such a gift. And again, like stories woven in and out together. And I think, for me, you've always been such a sound person I could go to, a sounding board that I could bounce ideas off of. And so thank you for being that in my life. You've just been such a wonderful friend and confidant through all these years. And I appreciate you so much.
I can say ditto. Absolutely the same here.
Okay, so now that we know your career trajectory and who knows, sky's the limit, what's next for you, because again, you just never know. We're going to go back to your initial, crew member days, take you back, way back. What is like your ultimate port day? Maybe a specific port excursion, something you would do with your friends on board, but just for that downtime that we sometimes got as crew members.
Yeah, 100%. So I love, there's certain itineraries that I just fell in love with. And one of those is the Baltic. So, Norway, Helsinki, all those places. Like I am in love with the Baltic. Going through the fjords is like one of my favorite, most beautiful times. And I think almost like the Baltic and like close second to that would be Alaska. Like those are my favorite days. And I would always make a point of getting off when I am in ports like that. I'm not a big beach person. So you would normally don't get me going anywhere on a beach day because I just don't go to the beach. But I definitely like a perfect port day for me is getting off the ship. Obviously, in those Baltic ports, it's always a little bit colder. I'm a winter person. I love to snuggle up. So I would always still have like a warm jacket. I'll buy a coffee and I'll just walk through the streets, like things that people would not even venture into or like really far, like just with my camera, me and some coffee and just clear my head and just take the most beautiful pictures, where it's an old lady stepping out on her balcony, doing her laundry, hanging everything up on the balcony, or a cat sitting in a window, of this tiny little house made of cobblestone, like, cobblestones all stone right through. Like, oh my word, that's like the things that to me is like the perfect day.
Yes, capturing those everyday moments in a totally new environment and knowing that you may come back there 10 more times or never again in your life, but really being able to just capture the essence of that new location. I love that. That's a beautiful day. I can picture you doing that, and that sounds
Yeah.
just so
Good.
gorgeous. Okay, so another question I like to ask my guests, because again, for me, being a young 20 something from California, not having traveled really hardly at all, I learned a lot about my culture and other cultures as well in that first contract and subsequent contracts. But is there anything that surprised you either about your culture as a South African or another culture working with people on board that, that it was just like, oh, that's surprising?
I think the thing that I always loved about ships is that it doesn't matter where you're from. Like, nobody really cares, right? It's great that you all come from somewhere, but we all have one holistic goal on board. And so everybody, works towards that. And I have seen people whose countries were at war, but they are roommates in the same cabin and they become best friends.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing about cruise ships. It's like, it doesn't matter whether you're pink, yellow, blue, green, whatever your color is, whatever your religion is, whatever your language is, like, your family.
Yes.
That to me is like how I see the world, how I want to see the whole world. I just want everybody to be family because I spent 18 years in that environment, right? That is my whole almost grown up environment was on ships. My first job was ships, so uh, that's all I know. That's all I learned. And so for me, that's how I want to envision and see the world. I always say, I wish the world can be like a cruise ship, where everybody just gets together. We have one common goal and we just work towards that. And everybody puts everything in, regardless of color, race, nationality, gender. It doesn't matter. And so to me, that's the thing that always stood out about ships. Like, you will be part of a family, regardless of who you are, what your history is, what your background is, what your story is, you will be loved.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And I think, it's always like it doesn't matter where you're from, you're still invited to the party, right? So like if there
100%.
was a specific party for a specific holiday from a specific country,
Yeah,
like everyone was invited. And I went
yeah,
to some incredible,
yeah,
parties that I would have never even known about this specific holiday. So,
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
And
exactly.
even the respect that there is when you do attend one of their celebrations, right? Like, there is so much respect that they're like, thank you for coming to our celebration. Thank you for coming to celebrate us. And I'll be like, absolutely, this is a great party. Like, why would nobody want to come, right? Like, it's phenomenal
100%.
because we can celebrate cultures and we can, like, how we had, countries' independence days and special experiences. And like, that's what's the beauty about it. We celebrated it all. There wasn't just one country celebration, it was everybody's, So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And the food, I think, is the other piece of it too, is that you get to experience so many different cultures' foods. And, and I remember, again, being young and on my first ship, I was like, oh, I don't know. Do I want to try that? And I learned very quickly, try everything. You never know what's going to be your very favorite thing. And I probably could count on one hand, like the number of things I didn't like. I mean, everything else was incredible and delicious and
Yeah.
authentic. And even the crew members, working on board, cooking for the crew and the guests. Like a lot of times they'd make their own, national dishes, and like getting to try those. It felt, one, exciting to get to try something new, but two, it felt like a privilege as well, because food is love to me. And so knowing that they were making this dish that they loved from back home and I got to try it, it just always felt,
Very
I don't
special.
know, just really special and so
Yeah.
inclusive, right? Again,
Yeah.
of where people come from. So I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you for sharing that. That's so
You're
good.
welcome.
Um, I shared one of my surprises though was when I learned that shame could be used for everything for South Africans.
Okay.
Shame is good, shame is bad. We could say shame all the time. So even learning those small cultural differences in the same
Yeah.
language, right?
That's it.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah. And the difference
Awesome.
between now and now. Same thing.
Yes, and just now, we're recording this now, but I'm going to release it just now, Sunel. That's funny. I love it. Well, one last question, and oh my gosh, our time has gone so fast. I could talk to you forever. I'll have to have
Thank
you
you.
on board again. Maybe when you're working on something exciting, like a cool, project or something, you can come back on. That would be so
For
fun.
sure.
But so where did you find joy at sea?
So for me, joy at sea is in the people. I think that's one of the things that I really still hold on so close. Like never in my life did I think that number one, I would visit 89 countries in the world. Like it's phenomenal. Like even today when I still pin it on a map, I'm like, oh my word, I was there. I had that. But the thing that I remember the most, a lot of people always ask, like, like, what was your best contract? And I said, it's every time the people that has you've met on board that really made that experience. And I have friends from all over the world and I still connect with them. We talk often, whether it's on Facebook, on Messenger, on WhatsApp, we do phone calls. And I think that is one of the things that I hold dearly the most. I would have never thought that I would know somebody from Lithuania. I'm like, who knows somebody from Lithuania? Like, I didn't even know that's a place when I lived in South Africa, and suddenly you have a friend from there, and one of my best friends is from England, and the laughs we had, the joys we had, the craziness we got ourselves into and out of, like it's phenomenal. And so you will have those people like friends from Turkey, like I can't tell you, like, if I have to name them all, like, I would sit here and I'll almost mention was probably all 89 countries that I've even been to, just to mention all the people. And I think that is where I found the most joy. And I still find joy in that today. Meeting people that has just really, like, fulfilled your life, lift you up when you were down. You go through a lot when you're on board. You're far away from home. There's a lot of things happening. Family members are having kids. Somebody is getting married, and you miss a lot of that. And so you have to hold on to certain things. And there are people on these journeys with you that helps to really pull you through that. And that becomes part of your family. There always will be extended families. So I found a lot of joy in the people that I met.
That's absolutely true. That's so true. The friendships are fast and they're deep and long lasting. And it's such a gift to be able to say, oh yeah, I have a friend from here. I have a friend from there. I could go visit this person. I can't wait to hug this person again. It's so special and it is such a joy for all of us that have gotten the opportunity to work on board.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Oh, what a fun episode. Thank you
Thank you,
so much
Laura.
for coming on. It has been such a wonderful thing to catch up
Thank
and to
you.
see you face to face and
Yes.
to hear your journey and your story. It has, had all different chapters. And I think, the way life equips us for the next thing. And I know from experience of working for Effie, everything that you've learned along the way, you're using and learning even more. And this journey's never done in this industry. So
100%.
congratulations
100%.
on all your
Thank you.
successes. Incredible.
Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate this. And thank you for having me. And I'm so proud of you. It's fun that
Thank
we
you.
can do this together, and seeing Joy there in the back just makes my heart so warm. Thank you. And sorry, when you work from home, you also have puppies who join calls.
Yes. Oh my word. Beautiful
And this is
puppy.
Molly.
Beautiful baby. For everyone watching on video, you also get to meet Sunel's beautiful puppy.
Yep. This
Well,
is
thank you
Molly.
again. I hope you have a
Thank
great
you.
rest of your day. And thank you so much, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
listening to this episode of Joy at Sea. You can find out more about Sunel, her journey, in the show notes. I'll link some of your socials there. You can also find out how to order your copy of Joy at Sea in our show notes. So thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate you listening and have a joyful rest of your day.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laura. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Joy at Sea. To find out more about us, our books, and products, please visit us on the web at joyatseaandfriends.com or on Facebook or Instagram at Finding Joy at Sea. To be featured on an episode, you can find our email in the show notes. Until next time, we hope you have a joyful day.